The wedding date is approaching, and the young general I adore has returned. Gazing at my elegant scholar cousin who topped the imperial exams, I gritted my teeth and pleaded, "Cousin, let's call off the engagement, Tilda." My cousin looked stunned. "This," I hastily added. "I'll give you my stepsister in compensation." My cousin pondered carefully before nodding solemnly. "That could work." Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. At the top scholars' banquet, I was holding my half-sister's little hand as we walked past the small pond in the backyard. Before we could react, splash, a tremendous sound erupted as both my half-sister and I tumbled into the water. The summer heat made the pond water feel not too cold. The pond wasn't deep, but the mud was so thick that one step would suck a person in, making it impossible to break free. I cried out in terror, "Help! Save me!" The maids accompanying me were terrified and rushed off to find help. Before long, a young man dressed in white robes arrived gracefully, led by the maids. It was my cousin, Jiyu Jiang, and also my fiancé. As I clung to a withered tree root, about to call for help, my half-sister beside me struggled first and cried out, "Tilda, save me, Tilda, save me, Tilda." And so, I watched helplessly as my fiancé rushed toward my half-sister without hesitation, as I was staring at them with my wide, watery eyes. A maid's scream came from the shore. I turned my head just in time to see a dark figure hurtling toward me. Splashes erupted everywhere. My once clean little face was instantly speckled with mud, absolutely filthy. "Yunfu, Tilda, I'm coming, Tilda asterisk gurgle asterisk Tilda, I'll save Tilda asterisk gurgle asterisk Tilda." Good heavens, the famously renowned young General Pei Yu actually couldn't swim. This was the last thing I'd ever expected. Seeing Pei Yu about to sink, my heart skipped a beat. I quickly mustered my strength, shook off the annoying mud, and rushed toward him, pulling him up in one swift motion. The pond isn't even that deep. How could he? No time to think about that now. This silly deer of a man locked me in a chokehold the moment he grabbed me. I struggled desperately, nearly meeting my end right then and there. Fortunately, with great effort, I managed to drag him to the shore. Jiyu Jiang, who had just settled his stepsister, came over to lend a hand and pulled both Pei Yu and me onto the bank. By the time my parents and the other guests arrived at the scene, they were met with an utterly bizarre sight on the shore. Pei Yu lay half-conscious with his head resting in my lap, while I, drenched and panting heavily, looked as disheveled as a drowned ghost. Things weren't much better on the other side. My half-sister had just opened her almond-shaped eyes, pouted her little mouth, and was clinging to my fiancé Jiyu Jiang while sobbing pitifully. She wailed loudly, "Cousin Jiang, thank goodness you're here, otherwise I would have been done for." Jiyu Jiang was a scholar, rather wooden and dull, but he still understood the boundaries between men and women. His expression became complicated for a moment. I squeezed out a few tears and weakly raised my delicate, boneless jade-like arm, pointing at him accusingly. "Cousin Jiang, I'm your fiancé. How could you save Yunrong first instead of me?" My voice choked with sobs as I spoke, utterly aggrieved. Yunrong glanced at me timidly, clinging even tighter to Jiyu Jiang's arm, covering my chest as I coughed twice. I cried out in despair, "Tell me, have you been having an affair behind my back?" Jiyu Jiang frowned, looking down at Yunrong in his arms, then at me, just as he was about to speak. Yunrong cut him off. She shook her head vigorously like a rattledrum. "No, it's not like that. Let me explain. Though I have feelings for my cousin, but, at this point." She seemed to choke on her words, coughing incessantly until her little face scrunched up like a steamed bun. The row of onlookers gasped in unison, all turning their eyes to Jiyu Jiang, hoping he'd provide a reasonable explanation. Pei Yu, nestled in my arms, kept one eye on guard while the other remained deep in slumber. Jiyu Jiang's ears turned red as he whispered, "My relationship with cousin Yunrong is completely innocent. I saved her first just because she was closer to the shore." "Oh, Tilda," Dad couldn't help but exclaim. Mom shot him a sharp glare, making Dad lower his head guiltily, though his gossipy eyes couldn't resist darting glances between me and Pei Yu. Just as his gaze met Pei Yu's, "You little rascal," waking up and still clinging to my daughter. Father's beard practically bristled with rage. Startled, Pei Yu executed a spinning leap to dodge father's sideways flying kick, What impressive skills, truly worthy of the renowned General Pei. Mother helped me up, heaved a long sigh, and declared resolutely, "This matter today has turned into a complete mess. Let's see how we'll handle it now." Pei Yu suddenly dropped to one knee and said with utmost seriousness, "Pei Yu has taken advantage of Miss Yunfu and is willing to take responsibility. I shall come to propose marriage at an early date." I swallowed hard and glanced at Jiyu Jiang, who was still trapped in Yunrong's embrace. His only reaction was a furrowed brow, no other expression. TSK. Truly a case of too much book learning making one foolish. What's the use of being the top scholar, still just a bookworm at heart? His future bride is about to be stolen away, yet he remains clueless, muddling along in complete ignorance. Glancing back at Yunrong, I saw her grinning from ear to ear with a mischievous curl of her lips. The moment our eyes met, her smile vanished instantly, replaced by a pitiful, woebegone expression. "Oh please, who do you think you're fooling here?" I rolled my eyes dramatically at the sun. "I am Yun Fu, the legitimate eldest daughter of Minister of Revenue Yun Qian." Yunrong was born to father's chambermaid, who had been with him even before mother married into the Yun family. Mother was magnanimous and never held it against her. When mother was pregnant with me, the chambermaid also conceived soon after and was elevated to the status of concubine. But the concubine was ill-fated. She died in childbirth while delivering Yunrong. Mother was a kind soul. She treated Yunrong as her own. Father hasn't taken another woman in all these years, so naturally there's been none of those backhouse squabbles full of deceit and intrigue. Yunrong and I have always gotten along well, but after my engagement to Jiyu Jiang was settled, things changed. Yunrong began making trouble for me at every turn. At breakfast, if I was just a step behind her, I'd go hungry. When shopping, if I spotted a sugar figurine I liked, she'd insist on biting it to pieces. At bedtime, though I slept perfectly fine alone, she'd squeeze in beside me just to steal the covers at night, leaving me with a runny nose the next day so she could laugh and call me snotty. Baffled, I snatched her favorite handkerchief to wipe my nose and asked, "Have you lost your mind lately?" She stomped her feet and shrieked, "Yunfu, how dare you use the handkerchief mother gave me to wipe your nose? You're the one who's gone mad." But after her scream, she wilted again, her face falling. "After all, you're the ones who are the loving family. I'm just a concubine-born daughter. No matter how much I'm doted on, I'll always be an outsider." Hearing her so dejected, my heart ached, and before I knew it, I'd fallen for her ploy of feigned misery. So when I tried to comfort her with good intentions, she pouted, tears falling like pear blossoms. "Yunfu, do you like cousin Jiang? Are you really going to marry him someday?" I haven't quite figured it out yet, hanging my head as I reply, "What if I don't like it? It's a marriage arranged by my parents. How could I dare to oppose them? Since ancient times, marriages have always been decided by parental orders and matchmakers' words." Yunrong's face lit up with joy as she grasped my hands excitedly. "I knew it. You fancy that young General Pei." I froze for a moment, my cheeks flushing warm. "Yes, there's someone I like. It's just that person is our Yun family's sworn enemy. The general's residence is on the next street over. Pei Yu and I have known each other since childhood. Not that we chose to meet, it's just that my father and old General Pei really loved to argue. Father was the Minister of Revenue, overseeing the management of wealth and resources. When General Pei distributed pay to the soldiers or requested funds to purchase military provisions, he had to go through father's approval. The two of them would often argue fiercely over mere 10 or 8 taels of silver. Mother, accustomed to such scenes, would always take me and Yunrong by the hand to sit in the courtyard, munching on melon seeds while watching them quarrel. General Pei also loved dragging Pei Yu along to observe, calling it getting a head start on learning how to secure well-deserved benefits for the troops. I still remember Pei Yu's first visit to the Yun family. I was just 5 years old, and he was only 8. Leaning against my mother's leg, I watched wide-eyed as my father and old General Pei bickered, while Pei Yu stared at me with sparkling eyes, equally transfixed. When the battle finally paused, old General Pei asked Pei Yu, "Well, what do you think, huh?" Pei Yu's big eyes were filled with big confusion. Old General Pei's face turned red, his neck bulging. "Did you see clearly?" Pei Yu's eyes shone with pure foolishness. "I saw clearly. Their daughter is quite adorable." "Ha, ahahaha. Father threw his head back and laughed heartily. Old General Pei's already dark face grew even darker, hands on hips. He kicked Peiyu in frustration. Here I was fighting a war of words, and you were busy ogling someone else's daughter, you good-for-nothing. Clutching his backside, Peiyu howled mother, and scampered out the door. Father said afterwards that old General Pei wouldn't so much as glance his way in court for half a month. Later, Peiyu would always take advantage of the quarrels between old General Pei and my father to bring me sugar figurines, Osman thus cakes, little pinwheels. He gave so much that I can't remember it all. But I do remember, he never learned to argue with my father. Instead, he mastered the art of talking back to old General Pei. Every time he left the Yun residence, he'd mutter under his breath, "You call that arguing? A few words and you're done. That's not arguing. That's a total defeat." Old General Pei would always end up kicking him in the rear out of anger, and he would always yell loudly, "Mother, come save me. The old man is hitting me again." I always looked forward to General Pei coming to quarrel with my father, because that meant I could play with Peiyu. But later, when I turned 13, my father and mother arranged my engagement to my cousin Jiyu Jiang, and Peiyu never brought me anything again. Peiyu stopped bringing me things, and Yunrong also started giving me a hard time. I was feeling a bit panicked, until Yunrong said, "Yun Fu, I like cousin Jiang. What should I do?" She was 3 months younger than me but never called me sister. Because she said I didn't seem like an older sister. Sisters take care of their younger siblings, but there were many times when I even needed her to look after me. For instance, I'm terrified of lightning. Whenever it thunders and rains, I have to force her to share my blanket. Or take how I fall sick more easily than her. Every seasonal change requires her reminders to dress warmly. But this time, I wanted her to call me big sister just once, because I wanted to take care of her for once. Reluctantly, she called me big sister, so I raised 3 fingers and swore with a hand on my chest, "Don't worry, I'll find a way to match you with cousin Jiang." She poked her fingers together awkwardly and said, "But I don't want to be the second wife either." I was left speechless. After making a constipated face, she sighed and said, "But if the first wife is you, it wouldn't be so hard to accept. I believe the 3 of us could live very happily together." The corner of my mouth twitched as I replied indifferently, "Thanks, but no thanks. My fiancé is Jiyu Jiang, but I don't like him. He's handsome and gentle as jade, the dream lover in many people's eyes. Take Yun Rong, for example. But in my eyes, he was dull and sluggish. Nothing more than a bookworm who only knew how to study. His sole ambition was to pass the imperial exams and bring glory to his ancestors. Thus, after I came of age, I didn't marry him right away." With righteous indignation, he declared, "A true man should strive for self-improvement. Establishing a career before starting a family is the proper way." He apologized to me, saying he'd wronged me by making me wait for him all this time. On the surface I sniffled and spoke words of understanding, but inwardly I was blooming with joy. I often dragged Yunrong along to linger conspicuously before him, creating opportunities for them to interact. But Jiyu Jiang was truly a bookworm. His eyes saw nothing but those tattered volumes he kept thumbing through. He completely ignored the existence of both me and Yunrong. How extreme was it? Would you believe it? Once, I had Yunrong bring him tea to his study on my behalf. Several days later, he sent a folding fan to the Yun family, saying, "Thank you, cousin Yunfu, for the tea that day." I was dumbfounded and told him, that was a gift from Yunrong. He froze for a moment, then grinned sheepishly. "Then many thanks to cousin Yunrong. I was so absorbed in my book that I didn't notice. I'm truly sorry." Because of this, Yunrong unilaterally cut off contact with him for 3 days. Now, 5 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Jiyu Jiang achieved the top rank in the imperial examinations, his name shining on the golden list. I have already turned 18. Since the eldest daughter remained unmarried, Yunrong naturally couldn't be wed either. Our parents felt guilty toward Yunrong over this and arranged several matchmaking meetings for her, saying they could first settle her engagement so she could marry alongside me when the time came. As I exchanged glances with Yunrong, a plan formed in my mind. I thought, if she goes to meet Peiyu, we could stage a case of wrong bridal sedan but right groom. Wouldn't that be perfect? But alas, the moment father heard Yunrong had taken a liking to Peiyu, his beard bristled with rage. with a dark expression, he declared, "No, absolutely not. Well, that's that. The Pei and Yun families are sworn enemies. After all, I'm starting to feel uneasy too, given father's current stance. Even if I break off the engagement with Jiyu Jiang, it'll likely be difficult for me to marry Pei Yu. As for Pei Yu, ever since my engagement with Jiyu Jiang was settled, he was sent to the northwest by old General Pei to guard the frontier. They said it was to temper his willpower, so he wouldn't lose his fighting spirit just because he was born in peaceful times. Over the years, I never knew how he was doing, nor whether there was a girl he fancied. Half a month before the top scholars' banquet was to be held, Pei Yu returned. My heart swelled with excitement, and I dragged Yun Rong to the city gates to see him. The little boy I once knew had grown into a man. His skin had darkened considerably, yet it couldn't obscure his striking features. The armor looked cumbersome, but when he wore it, his upright demeanor made him appear exceptionally handsome. Yun Rong, holding my hand with one hand and pointing at Pei Yu with the other, was even more excited than me. "Ulolo tilde is looking over here." Pei Yu and I exchanged a distant glance, and my face flushed with shyness. "Yun Rong, what's wrong?" "Me. My heart is pounding like a little deer running wild. Oh no, I'm completely head over heels in love." Yun Rong, with teary eyes, held my hand excitedly. I understand tilde. We embraced passionately. For kindred spirits are hard to find. How we regret not having met sooner. Ahem, it's not too late. We practically grew up sharing the same pink floral dress that eventually frayed to threads. Ever since reuniting with Pei Yu at the city gates, I've become even more determined to sabotage this arranged marriage with my cousin. My cousin had just topped the imperial examinations and was about to host a lavish celebration banquet. My half-sister and I locked ourselves in my room, whispering strategies for a full day and night until we finally hatched a plan. After the top scholars' banquet, the wedding date for Jiyu Jiang and me was to be set. This operation must succeed. Failure is not an option. To ensure the plan's success at the banquet, I stayed up all night pouring my heart out onto a sheet of rice paper the size of a steamed bun. I then rolled it into a scroll, stuffed it into a bamboo tube, stole my mother's little white pigeon, and stealthily slipped outside the Pei family's courtyard. Taking a deep breath, I tossed the pigeon inside. A sudden ouch told me I'd hit Pei Yu right on the head. What a coincidence, isn't it? Immediately, Pei Yu leaped onto the wall and, with a single jump, cornered me in the alley's dead end. Still clutching the little white pigeon trussed up like a rice dumpling, the pigeon cooed pitifully, coo 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 tilde. I pouted. I only tied it up because I was afraid it might run away. If you ask what purpose it serves, well, it's purely for aesthetic reasons. Pei Yu narrowed his eyes, then opened the bamboo tube right in front of me, reading aloud each character written on the rice paper. Green, green the robe you wear, long, long for you my care, for you I pine, and now I sigh. Yes, I had copied a few lines from the asterisk book of songs asterisk to express my admiration. Nothing. It's just that my little brain couldn't come up with anything else, so I had to copy homework. This was actually taught to me by Yun Rong, she said. That's exactly how I do it. The only pity is, though she copied the book of songs for her cousin countless times, she still couldn't awaken that blockhead to any moment of enlightenment. Stop reciting already. Don't I have any dignity to maintain? At first, I didn't think much of it, but being face to face like this, so mushy, really made me cringe hard. It was just too embarrassing. These educated folks really know how to play. I could never do that. Pei Yu, however, remained completely serious. Miss Yunfu wrote me this love poem. How come I'm not the one blushing? But Miss Yunfu is the shy one. I stammered for a moment before finally throwing caution to the wind and stiffening my neck to ask him, "So will you accept it or not?" An awkward expression flickered across his face as he propped one hand against the wall, planted the other on his hip, and tilted his head at a 45-degree angle to gaze skyward. That razor-sharp jawline made me want to stab him right then and there. Just as I was about to erupt like a volcano, he looked at me with melancholy and said dejectedly, "But you're already engaged. What we're doing is immoral." I blinked and explained the plan between me and Yun Rong to him. He was so shocked that he threw a series of punches, let out a ha, and exclaimed excitedly, "You all are simply audacious to the extreme. Thinking he disagreed, I began to feel a pang of sadness, only to see his smile gradually turn twisted as he said excitedly, Tilda, that suits me just fine. We hit it off immediately. Everything is ready except for the east wind." At the top scholars' banquet, while everyone was drinking and singing in high spirits, Yunrong and I quietly slipped away, sneaking off with 2 personal maids. We furtively made our way to the small pond, glanced at the sun shining overhead, and wore expressions of determination. Yunrong patted my hand with a look of grim determination. "My dear sister, take care." The corner of my mouth twitched. "That pond is at most shoulder deep." After whispering back and forth for a while, we took advantage of the 2 maids lowering their heads to count ants by holding hands and jumping into the pond together. I'd already made arrangements with Pei Yu. He was observing from the shadows and would surely do everything possible to have Jiyu Jiang come to the rescue first. Then he'd rush in to save me at the same time. Everything went according to plan. The only unexpected hiccup was Pei Yu's inability to swim, which came as quite a shock. Though to be fair, given the arid northwest where he grew up, it's understandable he'd be a landlubber. A woman's virtue is of utmost importance, how could it be otherwise? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I embraced Pei Yu while Jiyu Jiang held Yunrong in his arms. Of course, there was no way to explain it clearly, so both Yunrong and I burst into tears, each trying to outdo the other in our acting, wiping at the stubborn tears that refused to fall. I simply covered my face and wailed, "Woo-woo, Tilda, after something like this has happened. How can I possibly face the world with any dignity left?" Yunrong's eyes were red, her little mouth pouting pitifully. "If sister won't live, then I don't want to live either, Tilda." The surrounding onlookers gasped in shock. Pei Yu continued his marriage proposal. "Lord Yun, please let me marry Miss Yun Fu. I'll treat her well." Father's face turned livid, but he remained silent. I pinched my thigh and cried even harder, this time with actual tears streaming down. It hurt. Mother clicked her tongue several times, finally muttering a few words about what a sin. Then she shooed away all the onlookers and took Yunrong and me to change into clean clothes. After freshening up, we all sat in the main hall to discuss how to resolve the matter. I sniffled and raised my hand to speak. "I have a good idea." All eyes turned to me. It was quite intimidating. Taking a deep breath, I bowed to Jiyu Jiang and stammered, "Cousin, my innocence has been utterly ruined by Pei Yu. There's no way I can marry you now, Pei Yu," I continued, "so, let's call off the engagement." This, Jiyu Jiang frowned, clearly taken aback. He glanced at Yunrong and said, "Actually, I don't really care about outsiders' opinions, but it's hard on my 2 cousins. Cousin Yunfu has been devoted to me. Calling off the engagement would truly break your heart. How about, what's not as good? Does he really think he can eat 2 pots of rice by himself? Let him stuff himself to death then. And another thing, who's deeply in love with him, not just a bookworm, but a narcissist too." Pei Yu was the first to shut him up. "It's decided. I'll marry Yun Fu. You marry Yunrong, everyone's happy." Father immediately hurled a teacup at him, cursing loudly. "Decide my ass. How is this decided, huh?" Mother remained expressionless, perfunctorily saying, calm down. As everyone stood at an impasse, I shot Yunrong a look. "Say something, will you?" Only then did Yunrong's delicate frame go limp as she collapsed against Jiyu Jiang. Alas, Jiyu Jiang instinctively dodged, saving his own skin while Yunrong took a nasty spill. Poor thing. Yunrong was genuinely aggrieved and began wailing dramatically. Woe is Yunrong, motherless since childhood, and now despised as an adult. Better end it all and join my dear departed mother Tilda. Her sing-song lament instantly drew everyone in the room into her tragic tale. I could almost hear the mournful strains of a peeper echoing in my ears. Her mother's heart softened, and she quickly helped her up, saying tenderly, "Don't cry, Ronga, mother will stand up for you." Then, she glared at her father and declared, "It's decided, Fua will marry Pei Yu, and Ronga will marry Jiang." Her father stammered, "Tis, this could work too." Such double standards, the same words, spoken by different people, lead to entirely different treatment. Jiyu Jiang was about to say more, but I swiftly pinched the soft flesh at his waist, gritting my teeth. "Cousin, don't say another word. I've already given you Yunrong as compensation. What more do you want?" He sucked in a sharp breath and muttered under his breath, Cousin Yunfu, a gentleman uses his words, not his hands. Let's be civilized. I narrowed my eyes. Well, I'm no gentleman, he choked up speechlessly. I just wanted to say, the 9th day of next month is an auspicious date. Suitable for marriage. Oh, so I was the one who misunderstood him. Sheepishly, I withdrew my hand and took a couple of steps back, guiltily hiding behind Pei Yu. Jiu Jiang eyed Pei Yu and me suspiciously before drawling. Cousin Yunfu doesn't look the least bit wronged. Where's this so-called deep affection for me you spoke of? The silence was deafening. The Pei family soon came to propose marriage with a retinue. Old General Pei was even more delighted than Pei Yu. Speaking to my father calmly for the first time, only, he used the gentlest tone to utter the most piercing words. What's the deal? After all these years of rivalry, we've ended up as in-laws. We're family now, how can you be so petty? In the future, our Pei family will treat Yunfu well, so she can bear us several healthy sons. Father nearly flipped the table on the spot, but mother held him back. Calm down, will you? Pei Yu and I stood aside, hearts trembling with fear, worried that father might suddenly change his mind and call off the wedding. Fortunately, the wedding date was finally set. True enough, it was scheduled for the 9th of next month. Both Yunrong and I would be married on the same day. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, the wedding day arrived. The courtyard was festooned with red silk, and every maid and servant wore beaming smiles. Yunrong and I sat in the same room applying our makeup, our faces as radiant as peach blossoms. At 18, this old maid of mine was finally getting married. When the auspicious hour arrived, Yunrong and I each donned our red bridal veils. Supported by our respective maids, we stepped out and boarded our bridal sedan chairs. The top scholar and General Pei's young heir chose the same day to marry, both taking daughters of the Yun family as brides. In an instant, every tea house and theater had fresh gossip to savor. After marriage, Pei Yu treated me very well, and within just 2 months, I had noticeably plumped up all over. When I returned to the Yun family for the Mid-Autumn Festival reunion, my mother teased me, "Your complexion is rosy and fair, your figure has all the right curves like a ripe peach. Life must be treating you well." Having now experienced marital intimacy, her words immediately conjured up some indescribable scenes in my mind, making me so embarrassed I couldn't lift my head, my neck flushing crimson. Yunrong had also returned, and unlike me, she showed no shyness. She even discussed bedroom matters with our mother, asking for advice on how to please her husband more. Even mother blushed at her questions, stammering as she changed the subject. "You've been married for some time now, it would be good to have a child soon." I bit my lip. Mother Pei indeed had expectations about grandchildren, but Pei Yu always deflected them, saying, "Let nature take its course." Yet I could sense that he actually liked children very much. At 22, most young men of his social standing already had toddlers running about calling them father. How could he not envy that? Mother obtained a fertility charm for me and Yunrong. I placed it in my embroidered pouch, silently praying in my heart to conceive a child soon. Yunrong looked rather troubled. Only after leaving mother's room did I dare ask her, "What's wrong? Is cousin treating you poorly?" Jiu Jiang is just a bookworm who doesn't know how to cherish a woman's tenderness. I saw through him long ago. Sure enough, Yunrong was on the verge of tears, aggrieved as she said, "I thought he was such a refined gentleman, full of learning even if a bit dull. Surely he'd know how to cherish someone. But no, not at all. Not only is he dull, but he's also utterly indifferent. We share the same bed, yet he doesn't stir the slightest desire. When I took the initiative, he even blamed me for